latest on May 22nd around the wide world of tropics. Here's your tropical weather bulletin. The remnants of Andrea linger in the Atlantic, approaching Bermuda today. It really looks terrible though on the satellite imagery, which we'll get to see a little bit later on in tonight's tropical weather bulletin. 26 storms have formed so far in 2019. This is what the Atlantic looks like. Hurricane season begins on June the 1st. Andrea, an early start, but didn't last very long as a subtropical storm. Invest 91E has a 50% chance of development in the next 5 days in the eastern East Pacific. That's been lingering for a long time. It's day 8 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season. No storms active in the Western Pacific or in the North Indian Ocean. And in the Southern Hemisphere, Invest 95P is dying still, or maybe you could say now that it is dead. We'll take a look at that shortly. Andrea is the headline right now. There it is, just to the west of Bermuda, 35 miles an hour, 1009 millibars, 163 miles from the island, 31.5 north, 67.5 west. What we expect over the next few days, the center of the system to track very close to Bermuda and then move out over the open waters towards the end of the week, bypassing the Azores well off to the north, out towards the north and northeastern part of the Atlantic. Wind shear totals are pretty low actually, decreasing over what's left of the center of the storm, but really no convection, so not much is going on. There's the Eastern Pacific 91E in that there. If it is indeed 91E, I can't see it on the ATCF anymore, I'm just assuming on that. But this is what's left of Andrea right now, and it looks very poor. Wind shear values though are getting better, but there really isn't much of a shout at all for any kind of resurgence from this. SSTs I doubt will support it by now. So looking at the satellite imagery, you can quite clearly see the bit of a mess really that's left by what's left of Andrea there towards the central part of the Atlantic. Quite a bit of convection over the Caribbean as well, and that is sort of in association with that Eastern Pacific disturbance too. Interesting to see what comes of all of that. But the Gulf of Mexico itself still looking very quiet indeed. And if we panned up further north, you'd see some severe weather occurring in the United States again. In the Eastern Pacific, things looking very quiet, but looks like the doldrums are starting to warm up a little bit down there near the equator. Some convection occurring, nothing out of the ordinary though. Still looking out for any signs of development apart from the one furthest east. In the Western Pacific, pretty quiet at this time as well. A bunch of convective weather there moving through just north of the Micronesian Islands, and that will slowly but surely end up in the Mariana Islands if it gets there with anything about it. And in the Australian region, this is what it looks like. See if you can spot that 95p, because there's hardly anything left of it now. And in the Indian Ocean, things look like this, pretty quiet at this point. Obviously the southern hemisphere in the Indian Ocean has shut down. Northern hemisphere there looks like some significant rainfall in sporadic locations. Sea surface temperatures are pretty warm, 29 or 30 degrees where the Eastern Pacific disturbance is. Where Andrea is right now, as I pointed out, sea surface temperatures there very marginal, if that, probably only down to about 25, even 24 degrees Celsius now, so any chance of tropical development are long gone. The Indian Ocean, very warm there across the board. The Western Pacific, temperatures around 29 or 30 in the Philippine Sea. In the South Pacific, where 95p is dead, it's around 28 degrees or 29 Celsius there. So here is some imagery of 95p. You can just about make out a little swirl in the center of the visible imagery there. Some convection just off to the north and northwest is what's left of this system. It did have a chance to be a named storm at one point, but it certainly has thrown all of those chances away, and we're really just showing this to pass the time. This is Invest 95p, which has been living for a few days, but is not going to develop into anything. Pretty quiet across the whole tropical front, which is why we've spent so much time looking at this. And we should be able to have another glance here at the remnants of Andrea. As you can see, looking pretty pathetic in the latest frames there. The circulation looks to still be active as we enter the nighttime hours, and you can see how close it is to Bermuda, possible significant rainfall occurring there, or may have occurred there a little bit earlier. So we are on day 142 of the year. Andrea, the first storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. The next name is Barry. The first name in the Eastern Pacific is Alvin, and the first name this year in the Central Pacific, if we get one, is Akoni. The next name in the Western Pacific, Sepat. The next name in the North Indian Ocean, Vayu. You can visit Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com, with the latest. Our YouTube page, if you're not there already, please subscribe, youtube.com/Force13, and you can find our Twitter and Facebook handles at Force13 on there if you'd like to get in touch through those mediums. You can also see the next names there, Blake and Rita in the Fiji region. Another update tomorrow. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. You can see more information about all the benefits involved by visiting patreon.com/Force13. You can also contact me on Discord. It's Fool13 at extension 9094 and Force13 on Skype. You can also find our server link to our Discord server for tropical weather chat in our description.